Right, for this one, I'd start off by rewriting it. We can write this as cosine to the fifth of 6x times sine to the negative 2/3 of 6x. Right, because we have the cube root of sine squared in the denominator, we can write that as sine to the negative 2/3 of 6x. Well, we have cosine and sine. Cosine, we have an odd degree, so I'm going to go ahead and take out one of those cosines, put it in the back, kind of save it for our du. So we're going to have cosine to the fourth of 6x times sine to the negative 2/3 of 6x, and then our just single cosine of 6x dx. So this part's getting saved kind of for our du, or to be part of our du. So now we need to write all of this in terms of sine. So this cosine to the fourth, we can first write it as cosine squared of 6x squared, right, instead of cosine to the fourth. And then we'll be able to use that Pythagorean identity. Because cosine squared is the same as 1 minus sine squared. So we're going to have 1 minus sine squared of 6x, that whole thing squared. So we can multiply this out using FOIL. We get 1 minus 2 sine squared of 6x plus sine to the fourth of 6x. And that's still getting multiplied by the sine to the negative 2/3 of 6x. And we still have our cosine of 6x dx at the end, kind of saving it for our du. So before we can do our u and d, we need to take this sine to the negative 2/3 and distribute it to each one of these. So we get sine to the negative 2/3 of 6x minus 2 times sine. Well, now we have to figure out what power that's going to be. If we're multiplying two powers of the same base, we exponent. So the sine squared, we're basically doing 2 plus negative 2/3. So this is like 6/3 minus 2/3, we get 4/3. And then plus sine here, we're doing 4 plus negative 2/3, or 12/3 minus 2/3, so we get 10/3. And we have our cosine of 6x dx at the end. So now finally we've got all of this multiplied out. We can use u substitution. Our u is going to be sine of 6x. So du, derivative of sine, is cosine, but we also have to multiply by the derivative of 6x, which is 6. So to get our du, we need to multiply the inside by 6, outside by 1/6. So we have 1/6 times the antiderivative of u to the negative 2/3 minus 2u to the 4/3 plus u to the 10/3 du. And now we can do the antiderivative. So antiderivative of u to the negative 2/3, we're adding 1 to the exponent. So we get u to the 1/3, and then multiply by the reciprocal, so 3u to the 1/3. Add 1 to this exponent, we get 7/3. Multiply by the reciprocal, 3/7 times negative 2, we get negative 6/7. Add 1 to the exponent, we get 13/3. Multiply by the reciprocal, 3 over 13. And we need to remember our plus c. And then we want our final answer in terms of x. So we get 1/6 times 3 times the sine to the 1/3 of 6x minus 6/7 times sine to the 7/3 of 6x plus 3/13 times sine to the 13/3 of 6x, all plus c.